is good, people? It's Shots Fire here, and in this video I'm going to be discussing classic controls. Now classic controls is really complicated for new players, and as of recent they added other control schemes, and some people or most people just want to step up to the, I guess, big boy controls, if you want to call it. Now back in the day, for people like me, before the update, you really had no choice and you had to get used to it, or you just not gonna fly in general. But in this video I'm going to explain it. And also, I should mind you that there is another person by the name of Old Man Smithers that has a guide for it. So if you don't like the way I explained it, hey, by all means watch this video. I'll have a link down there as well. But without further ado, let me get to explain it. Now the first thing I'm going to discuss is debug. I think if you introduce debug, it becomes a whole lot easier. This is the main staple of this control scheme, and this is what you use for movements. By default, the mouse aim, that's pretty much only using it for aiming, and if you use it for anything else other than aiming, then you're kind of doing it wrong. Now for me, the only option was to look at Old Man Smithers, because other people was not really explain debug very well, or they just kind of like talk about it like you already knew it. Some of us didn't know what the hell it was, so I'm going to start this off by discussing debug. Now my debug is shift. I think by default it was control, but you can see here I have my keyboard inputs there on the screen, so you can see me holding the debug button. And when I hold the debug button, my W and S becomes my pitch up and down, whereas before it would be my throttle, but my throttle is changed to mouse 4 and 5, so I don't have those type of control schemes. But I digress. Pitch is W and S, and A and D will be your roll radius, like left and right roll. Whereas before in mouse aim, it's going to be your rudder, left and right. So you get the point. It just changes the WASD control scheme layouts to your pitch and roll axis. That's all you need to know. As long as you know that, you'll be fine. Now, side note, there is debug within Orbicam, which I'll get to soon. In Orbicam, it already has debug, so you don't have to hold the normal debug control. One last thing about debug is with your mouse control, with your mouse, when you move it left and right normally, it would roll the plane left and right, but in debug, it uses the rudder. So you move the rudder left and right, that will control the rudder left and right. And it comes with saying that Orbicam debug does not control rudder. Now the second thing I'm going to go for is Orbicam. Orbicam is very important. Clearly, you need this to look behind you and all around you. It can do a whole 360. Not too much above you, but most likely you can do a 360. Now, for me, I use free cam using F. I believe that by default was shift. That's just, you got your debug and your shift. It's just too much going on one side. So, yeah, F for me was comfortable. Some people use their mouse 6 or mouse 5 or 4, whatever the case may be. Me personally, I just use my F key. It's much easier to use, not that comprehensive. It's pretty damn easy. So in order to use this, all you have to do is hold the button. Once you hold the button, now when you move your mouse around, you can look around your plane all 360 degrees around it. Just a bit limit on top of it, but for the most part, you can look 360 degrees for the most part. And also, I want to say that there is debug within Orbicam, so you don't have to hold debug control while you're doing it, because debug is technically already in it. The only thing that you really have to know is debug has your rudder control in it, but in this Orbicam debug, you don't have it. So you don't have no access to actually control your rudder. So if you want to control your rudder, you either have to use your other debug, or you're going to have to just use the normal controls without debugs in general. So now I'm going to go to the normal mouse aim. I'm going to call this the mouse aim section, because it ain't very much more than just mouse aim. So I'm going to explain the normal WASD controls, and WS, it might be throttle, I'm not sure, because I have different key layouts. It used to be throttle, but now mine is mouse 4 and 5, because throttle was a lot more important now. Before, you just have to just hit that, well, it was like 3 gears at the time most likely, and you just hold there forever. really was no point even turning it down that much anyway. Stalling out was useless back then. Now it's more of a thing. And for me, if you want to know my throttle setup, mine's is smooth. I like smooth. I prefer it much more better. It's just has what I want, which is not sitting there tediously clicking all day. I just like to hold it, bang, keep moving. All right, so next thing, AD, which is your rudder, left and right rudder. Now it's important in this game that you do use your rudder to aim. It can help drastically, especially if you're using wing mounted guns. It can really save you some time and aim very well. Obviously with your mouse, you're going to be using up and down with your pitch up and down. And when you use left and right, that rolls left and right. Now the only thing you really need to know or get comfortable with is that mouse aim sensitivity. Mine, you can see that it's maxed. I don't like it slow. I mean, there's a benefit to having slow. If you have it slow, you can handle long ranges easily. You know, aiming at people is much more easy. You know, you don't have to worry about overshooting that much. But with that comes with the whole, you know, you might miss your time frame. Because, you know, you don't, if you're going against a good opponent, he's not going to give you that much time to put guns on. And, you know, you're missing out on all this time, especially if you're going against, like, you know, maybe you're going outnumbered matches. You really don't have much time to be sitting there focusing on aiming like that, to me. And having a higher sensitivity can actually help you with that problem. So there you go. Not hard. It'll take some time. You just need to put some emphasis on debug and orbit cam. That's the only two things that's gonna give you a little bit of a hard time at first, but it just takes time. You'll get used to it. I think that mouse aim, you know, the controls without enhancements just by default, it's easy. You know, all you gotta do is just get a comfortable mouse sensitivity and you're fine. Aiming is pretty damn easy. But for the most part, you're good. Now I would recommend just fly recon planes since it doesn't cost as much to crash. And it's pretty fair on the matchmaking because, you know, mediums and heavies are kind of a mixed bag at the moment, so you can't choose your favorite planes and just play them and have it with ease. You know, you'll get outnumbered and all that nonsense. So prevent all that, just use recon planes. It's pretty simple to get into. I would just go with that. That's it for me, guys. I hope you get good at this control scheme. Take your time, don't quit. Also, comment, like, and subscribe, and have a good one. Deuces.